And it's the same reason why they couldn't take Jalen Carter a couple years ago. They are still in asset acquisition mode. They are not the Chiefs. They are not the Eagles. They don't have that cachet built. And if you take this kid, dominates OTAs and training camp, and then he gets popped for something, that's on you. Right. It's not something they can risk doing.
Starting to dive into some prospects that the Arizona Cardinals could target at 16th overall, but also some guys that the Cardinals could sniff around come 47th overall, second round of the 2025 NFL Draft. It's Johnny Venerable, Bo Brack, PHNX Cardinals. Subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube. Drop a like on this video. We're getting to our top 100. We're in the top 30 now, Johnny. It's getting down to pretty much crunch time. Some guys that I think the Cardinals on day 1 and day 2 of the draft could very well identify here to bring onto their roster.
Yeah, they've got a lot of different options. I feel like pass rusher, defensive tackle, offensive tackle, specifically right tackle. And then if there's a cornerback that they absolutely love, I feel like we're playing in a sandbox here on day 1. I don't care if it's 16, trade down, whatever. Has to be a premium position. Enough of this garbage about taking an off-ball linebacker or a guard. I like those positions. Austin Ford and Gannon, they probably do too. They like them later, right? They're going to sign an off-ball linebacker in free agency for no money. They're going to take a developmental guard in the 3rd round like last year. Big ticket additions in the 1st round have to play premium positions. So, Bo, that's what we're going to focus on.
Yeah, and this is where our board differs from kind of the traditional draft board rankings out there. Big boards across national outlets. When we're specific to the Cardinals, we're looking at where they want to identify their weaknesses, their remaining weaknesses, and it remains the defensive front 7. You'll find some offensive linemen in there, but because of not the I guess the strength of this draft class by any means, they've got a couple guys that we'll mention, but it's higher on the draft board. But like Ashton Genty's our 31st player. Right. Cardinals don't need a running back. We're not going to talk about him. As far as wide receivers go in the passing game, like the Cardinals could use one, but it's not a glaring need. We've got guys like Teteroa McMillan. We've got Matthew Golden as our 24th and 26th prospects, respectively, because I don't think that the Cardinals are going to play in that sandbox in round 1 or round 2 of the draft. If I was pressed on it, I would say, hey, Matthew Golden with his 4.29 speed probably would be a burner to complement Marvin Harrison Jr., Trey McBride in this passing tech more so than T-Mac. So that's where we are there. But when you start to look at where the Arizona Cardinals could really kind of improve their roster, improve their defensive front, that's where our top 30 is just stacked with these type of players. We'll start with a guy like TJ Sanders out of South Carolina. Interior defensive line player there. I really liked him. Like him and Tyleik Williams, they're sandwiched in between 2 safeties that are at the top of their position group. But because of the strength of this draft, Sanders and Williams are down the depth chart a little bit.
Yeah, looking at a guy coming out of the SEC, just under 6'5". He's got almost over 33-inch arms, 300 pounds, lightning quick for his size. He's a redshirt junior. And it's somebody that, again, you pair with a Darius Robinson long-term. You're looking for 2 guys that can penetrate at the point of attack. He broke 5 flat in his 40 time, which was super impressive. Second team all SEC, and a guy that I think he is a better pass rusher than he is a run defender. And that's okay. Mm-hmm. Like the Cardinals, they've got some supplemental guys now with Dalvin Tomlinson, Calais Campbell in the fold, where you don't need whomever you take at 16 or 47 to come in and be a finished product. But what's TJ Sanders' ceiling? I think his ceiling is a guy that could probably reach about 7 to 8 sacks per year. I think it's really strong for somebody with his kind of wingspan, over 80 inches. His 3-cone, incredibly impressive at 7'7". So I think, we talk about, at least we did before the Calais Campbell signing, a lot of these firm first-round defensive tackles. Now it almost feels like, okay, they're honing in on maybe an edge rusher at 16.
Yeah.
It could be a defensive tackle that they could get maybe at the top of round 2 if they were to trade out.
Yeah, I mean, these are round 2 targets. Tyleik Williams out of the Ohio State, a 3-tech guy, a little beefier, 334, and that might be kind of the remaining need as far as this Cardinals defensive front seven goes. I know there's the infamous video of the poor prospect falling down
Yeah.
and thankfully avoiding a serious injury during his pro day with the Buckeyes. But, I like him, 2-year starter. Fran Duffy does a great breakdown of him on our in his draft guide, but 6'2", 334, 33.5-inch arms, just a big boy that could play in the interior of the defensive line. Let's go up our draft board a little bit. Let's talk about a pair of guards before we get to the big ticket edge rusher prospects that we have here between 30 and 15. We have Tyler Booker and Gray Zabel.
Yeah.
These guys, to me, they're nails on a scratch on the chalkboard here at 16. But then, like, if you're talking 47, then and these guys slide, then you can maybe convince me on it.
I'll start with Tyler Booker because, respectfully, played at a real school, and he might be offensive guard number one to a lot of people, and I have no issue with that. 6'5", junior out of New Haven, Connecticut, of course, starred for Alabama. Is somebody that listen, like. Plug and play is a term thrown around way too much in league circles, right? This is a plug and play player. This is somebody that you would draft and immediately start over Evan Brown at left guard. I do wonder about his strength at the point of attack. I think he plays strong, but he had like 21 reps on the bench. That would concern me a little bit. I think there are people in this market that would take him 16th overall. I think that's pretty laughable because I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think, and you're going to think I'm crazy, I don't know how big of a gap there is between Tyler Booker and Isaiah Adams. Like Isaiah Adams after a year in the Cardinal program.
Right.
I think Tyler Booker is probably going to go somewhere between 25 and 40. And to me, that's the sweet spot for him. Right. So again, if you were to trade down and you got a bunch of extra picks and you're just kind of going willy-nilly, if this was last year and you took Marv at 4 and he's the best player available at 27, okay, I can stomach that. Not at 16. Can't be taking guards at 16.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. A guy with RAS score very low, not too impressive, but the size there, and then played, big boy football. But
right.
Oh yeah. Hey, is Alabama an offensive lineman? Is that actually a red flag nowadays? Yeah. I mean, you're right. That's a clown take to say, hey, I would be fully confident in taking him 16th overall. It's like, oh, you're punting on the positional value there. And I think the upside as far as what you would be able to get actual in that spot. Let me give you some positives before we say why we're out on Gray Zabel at 16th overall. He's nearly 6'6", 312 pounds, very athletic. I think he was close to like 36.5-inch vert. So, the athleticism's there. But as you mentioned, the school, North Dakota State, that's an FCS school. So making the leap to the NFL, a little bit bigger of a transition. Plus, like what's usually painted as a positive, the versatility there. You're asking this guy who primarily played outside, like at the tackle position for the Bison. Right. He's a guy that you're going to ask to make a position change more than likely at the NFL level. There's just too many things there that you're asking for this guy to transition to, that you would have the expectation of him making an impact for the Cardinals on the offensive line in 2025.
Yeah, I mean, he's enormous, right? Isn't he like 6'6", over 300 pounds? Like I don't think he's going to be a bad player, and I understand the hype from the measurables alone. Didn't he like dominate at the Senior Bowl? Like
great Senior Bowl.
Yeah, I think that he's this year's Quinyon Mitchell. I think he's a small school guy that showed he can play. And again, you want to make an argument he should be like the first guard taken? I don't have an issue with that. Okay, but when you're talking about using a premium pick on a guard, and then, oh, by the way, you question the competition at a 1AA school, it's just the Cardinals can't be playing in that sandbox. Again, unless they were to move down considerably. I still think we're going to talk about some of these prospects later on. If you were to trade down from 16 to like 25, you still can't be talking about a guard with the amount of pass rushers that are available in this draft for you to take. Landon Jackson, we're going to talk about some of these guys. There is not a place where I would feel comfortable sans 47 taking an interior offensive lineman.
Yeah. Same goes for that off-ball linebacker, Jihad Campbell. We've got him 19th on our board. Not trying to be disrespectful. We like his tape. But as far as, the positional value there and what's going to be truly impactful for the Cardinals taken in the first round, I think Jihad Campbell's somebody that like, hey, second day, I'm all for it. Day one. No. Give me the premium positions Let's talk about some premium positions. These aren't necessarily day one guys. They could be some pass rushers. We got Mike Green, 21st on our board because of the off the field noise. A guy that's had 2 incidents off the field, one that had him transferring from the University of Virginia to Marshall, where he led the FBS with 17.5 sacks. And then we got 2 guys that are maybe up our board that are high for most people's draft boards because they're probably late first round picks, maybe early day 2 guys, Nick Scorton and Donovan Ezaraku.
Let's start with Mike Green. At the time of this recording, Cardinals are not bringing in Mike Green that we know of for a top 30 visit. Yeah. And you've made a pretty consistent point that I agree with. Like, unless the Cardinals are bringing him in, I just don't think they're going to entertain Mike Green as a serious option to take early in this draft. There's too many questions about multiple allegations off the field that we don't want to get into now. It's been well documented. This is different than like Walter Nolan or James Pierce Jr., where it's like, does he love football? Good vibes in the locker room? Is he just he's just kind of a jerk? Like, no, Mike Green had people come out and say, like, he did this to me. And we can't sit here and talk about, we don't know the kid. We don't know what's happened, but we do know how Gannon and Ossenford operate with their locker room. I think, and I've told you this, I think Mike Green is the second best pure edge rusher in this draft to get home on a sack, sans Abdul Carter, right? I think in a perfect world, he's probably a top 12 pick. The off the field stuff would scare the hell out of me. I don't think the Cardinals touch it. And go back and look at those Senior Bowl clips. They're unbelievable. Yeah. He's unbelievable as a prospect, but that's just half of it. And it's the same reason why they couldn't take Jalen Carter a couple years ago. They are still in asset acquisition mode. They are not the Chiefs. They are not the Eagles. They don't have that cachet built. And if you take this kid, dominates OTAs and training camp, and then he gets popped for something, that's on you. Right. It's not something they can risk doing.
Right. Let's get into this. I think this is a group of 3 guys, and I think most of them, the conversation becomes in a trade down. We've already had a little bit of dabbled in that, but also maybe some day 2 stuff. You mentioned Landon Jackson, Nick Scorton, and Donovan Ezaraku, who was second behind Mike Green as far as production, like the productivity out of BC. It's there, 16 plus sacks. Scorton, I think, was one of those guys that was a victim of that Texas A&M defensive buffoonery, along with Shamar Stewart. And then, Landon Jackson, who for my taste, I love Landon Jackson. I love the idea of him at 47. I love his freakish frame at 6'7", his athleticism, the fact that Fran Duffy said this is a guy that is very similar comps to new Cardinals pass rusher Josh Sweat. I love all of that. And I think at 47, he would be perfect. And then these guys, Ezaraku and Scorton, like maybe you could talk me into a late 20s selection if they trade down.
Yeah, I'm with you. Ezaraku is probably the best of the 3, in my opinion. I mean, you don't luck into 16.5 sacks. And most of the time, you know how I feel. ACC defender, Boston College, who did you play? I mean, but we're talking about Mike Green potentially going in the top 20. I mean, I'm looking at some of his game totals right now. I mean, he put up 3.5 sacks against Pittsburgh, 2 sacks against UNC, sacked Kyle McCord twice, right? I mean, he had sacks in every game sans like 4 games last year. So it's not like he loaded him up with 5 or 6 sack games. Like, they're spread out. He can do it. I think he is probably a firm like top 30 selection, going to go between like 20 and 30. So again, trade down candidate. Scourton or Scorton, not my cup of tea, not as athletic as Stewart. If you're going to take one of the kids from A&M, just take Stewart because he's such a freak show athletically. And then I'm with you on Landon Jackson. I think Landon Jackson ends up sneaking into the first round just because of what this class looks like. If George Karlaftis can go in the first round, Landon Jackson sure as hell can. So again, like all these guys, and we've talked about this, we almost need to have a big board for edge rushers.
Right.
We have a group that we feel comfortable taking at 16. And then there's a group of like 10 dudes who could go from 20 to 50. And we've got contingencies on all of them. These 3 guys are in that group.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to make, Monty Ossenford just trust in his board and which prospects he likes the most. Does he trade up in the second round? Does he trade down in the second round because he feels similarly like he did for the defensive back class last year? It's really going to provide, some nice drama come the 3-day draft process. at the end of this month. Of the prospects we talked about today, 30 through 15 on our big board: Landon Jackson, you got the Azaraku Scorton, Mike Green, Matthew Golden, Tyler Booker, Gray Zabel. Who do you like the most? Who's going to be wearing a Cardinals uniform? Drop a comment, leave a like on this video, and of course, subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube.